Good day. I'm Gord, and today we're going to look at Revelation chapters 17 and 18, but focusing on chapter 17. There's a detailed article on my blog if you go to therebeljesus.net and look for America is Babylon the Great. It's a new article and it has a lot more details than you're going to find here. When I was in school, I was doing a master's degree in theological studies. I took a course on Revelation with the late Dr. Gordon Fee, one of the great New Testament scholars of our time. When we got to chapter 17, I asked him, what does this mean, this harlot sitting on a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, and there's merchants intertwined there, selling their wares, and there's kings of the earth that are committing fornication with her. What does all this mean? And he said, some people think it's the French Revolution. And I said, well, what do you think it is, Dr. Fee? He thought for a minute and replied, it's Western culture. Now, it took me a long time to understand what he meant by this, but if you consider culture as the religions, the arts, military institutions, other institutions, educational institutions, and philosophies and way of thinking about things, everything that makes Western civilization unique in the world, that's what Western culture is. And I came around to believing he was absolutely correct, that Babylon the Great in chapter 17 of Revelation is Western culture. The timing of chapter 17, I think, is near the end of the French Revolution and continues on to our time and when Christ will return. The beast there is similar to the papal beast of chapter 13, 1 through 10, but it's further ahead in time. That beast also has 7 heads and 10 horns as well, which is a sign that the beast is Rome in some form. Now, on the forehead of the harlot that sits on the beast, it says, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Well, what is a harlot in the Bible? A harlot is God's people gone bad. It's God's people that have turned against him in apostasy and are now working against the will of God. So she is a spiritual harlot, and she's the mother of harlots. And why is she the mother of harlots? Because other churches came out from her as well, other false churches. So the first church that Babylon represents is papal Rome. If you go back to chapter 13, verses 1 through 10 again. And this was the Roman Catholic Church. And it was the only church in Western Europe during the Middle Ages. But then as we hit the end of the French Revolution, other churches began to form across Europe, and even prior to that, and they became state Protestant churches, which also persecuted sincere Christians and had an unclean relationship with the kings and the merchants, and therefore were also harlot churches. Now, in verse 8, it says, the beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss and go into destruction. So this is John now viewing this harlot from our time. It's a beast that was and is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss. Well, the beast that was imperial Rome. That was the power in John's time, in the first century, imperial Rome. It is not, because it was destroyed in the 5th century by Germanic tribes from the north that came down and destroyed imperial Rome. But it's about to come up out of the abyss. Okay? So after the French Revolution, France became a republic, and the Roman Catholic Church lost all its power, all its political power. And republics spread across Europe. And so as it comes up out of the abyss, it's imperial Rome reborn again. And republics spread across Europe. England became a republic after its revolution, and the United States was born a republic. And so with republics, religion has to take a back seat. Religion is not allowed to be favored in a republic. So that's what happened. So the beast that was imperial Rome. The beast that you saw was and is not. It's not, because papal Rome rose to take its place, and it's about to come out of the abyss again. So imperial Rome went into the abyss, papal Rome came up out of the abyss, and then at the French Revolution, imperial Rome rises again and displaces papal Rome. And that's where we are today. In verse 9, and by the way, this needs to be read alongside Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8 has a he-goat representing Medo-Persia. A ram that represents Medo-Persia. That's conquered by a he-goat, which is Greece. And then imperial Rome rises later. And then we have papal Rome. So you need to look at Daniel chapter 8, and you should look at chapter 7 as well as you're reading along with this. Verse 9, here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Okay, that's Rome. Rome is a city on 7 hills. They are 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is, the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must remain a short while. So this is now viewed from John's point of view in the 1st century. The 5 kings that have fallen, okay, if we look at Daniel chapter 8, we have Medo-Persia, that's 1 head. We have Greece, from Daniel chapter 7, has 4 heads, that's 5. Those are the 5 kings that have fallen, okay? Now, what conquered Greece? Imperial Rome, the 6th head. It conquered Greece. And then imperial Rome went down, and what replaced it? Papal Rome, that's the 7th head. Okay, so we have Medo-Persia, 1 head, Greece, 4 heads, imperial Rome, 1 head, and papal Rome, 1 head, for 7 heads total. Okay, and the beast which was and is not is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7, and goes to destruction. So the beast which you saw, which is now future, okay, we're looking at from the future, from the beast's point of view in Revelation 17, is an 8th, and it's one of the 7. Well, what came out of the abyss after the French Revolution? Imperial Rome again, as the Western powers. Okay, the Western powers is Imperial Rome reborn. Okay, it's the 8th head, and it's one of the 7. Why is that? Because head number 6 is Imperial Rome. Head number 7 is Papal Rome. Head number 8 is 6th head reborn as the 8th head. That's Imperial Rome. And that's what we see today. We see America, especially since the presidency of Joe Biden, ruling with an iron fist over the EU, over Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. And these other countries have become essentially as colonies or slaves to America. And that's where we are today. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have not received the kingdom, but they receive authority as beasts with the beast for 1 hour. Okay, the beast is the Western political system. Okay, the 10 horns are the European Union in our time. Okay, they are now working with the beast and obeying its commands. They have one purpose and give their power and authority to the beast. They wage war against Jesus Christ, but he conquers them. And then he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Well, if we go back to chapter 16, verse 12, we see that the 6th angel poured out his bowl upon the great river, the Euphrates. Its water was dried up, that the way may be prepared for the kings from the east. The kings from the east are the BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and there's 5 more, I believe, that have joined, and many more that also want to join. The BRICS are rising as the G7 and the Western powers are going down. Okay? And why do they turn against the harlot? Because God's put it in their hearts to turn against him. Verse 17. So don't be fooled, brothers and sisters. America and the Western Empire is not your friend.